Hello and welcome. I am One Dull Geek. My actual name is Mark, but I am One Dull Geek on Twitch and I play poker, and I've decided that I am going to make a series of videos on how I made my poker overlay. But to do that, one of the first things that needs to happen is that you need to have a mechanism by which you can put your poker tables in the same place every single time. Now this matters because in OBS, you need to define the places where your tables are going to be so that you can use an overlay. So I thought that what I would do is I would show as a very first sort of thing how I made these little red lines, these little tiny little guidelines for telling me where to put my tables. And if you see, if I pull up a couple of tables that I'm not playing at, you can see that this is where those tables are. And let me show you what that looks like when I put this into OBS. So in OBS, now this is what my tables look like, right? They're in the right place. My layout expects them to work. And if I were to say I want to go to just look at the main left table, I can adjust and it works exactly as I would expect it to work. And the main right table works exactly as it expects it to work because this overlay knows where the tables have to be. If you don't have your tables in the right place, none of this works correctly. Like all of these features don't work the way you'd expect them to. So it's important to be able to put your tables in one place every single time. So let me show you how. So to do that, I have these little guidelines, and let me show you what I did to actually make these guidelines. Because it's very convenient. And the way that you start is the first thing you do is you take a screenshot. You put the tables where you want them, and in my particular case, this is where I want them. And to make a screenshot, I come over to Windows and I type this thing called Snipping Tool. And I start Snipping Tool, and what it's going to do is I'm going to click New, and what it's going to allow me to do is select this entire screen. And now it's taken a screenshot of where my tables are. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call it main2tables.png. And I've done this before, obviously, so I'm overwriting. But now that I've saved it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a tool called the GIMP. And let's close everything out and start from fresh. We'll discard changes. So what I'm going to do is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open a layer. And the first layer is going to be my background. Now I got to remember where it was I put my background. It's not here. It is here. Downloads, backgrounds. So let's go to Mark, downloads, backgrounds. And my background is called black, light, dark figures. That's the one. So I'm going to open this up and we'll resize it. And this is essentially my background. So what we have in the GIMP is this thing called layers. And layers are essentially ways that you can build up your picture one layer at a time. So the bottom layer of my background is this new background that I'm trying to make is going to be my blank background, the one that I normally use. Now I'm going to open a new layer on top of that, open as layers, and this time I'm going to go and take that screenshot that I had. And I'm going to hope I remember where I saved it. I saved it to desktop, Twitch, and here it is, main2tables.png. So there's my screenshot. So now I've got two layers. I've got one layer, which is my screenshot, layer over the top of my background. And you see like this. So, so what I want to do is I want to make sure that on my top, hide the bottom layer. I want to make sure that the alpha is already there. And in this particular case, it is. I've run into situations using the GIMP where the alpha channel was not assumed. But in this particular case, the alpha channel is assumed. And you'll see why that matters in a little bit. But for now, what I want to do is I want to select. I'm going to use this rectangle select tool, and I'm going to select. I'm going to take a guess pretty close to where the boundary of the table is. And that seems like it's pretty close. Now I'm going to press the Control key and use my mouse wheel and scroll in, and that zooms in. And so now I can get really, really precise. Now see, when it jumps like this is 1 pixel. I'm moving 1 pixel at a time. Now I'm going to Control and mouse wheel down, and that's going to zoom out. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, Control, mouse wheel up to zoom in. And I am going to get like that. And now I have selected that table. You can see that I have selected that table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the Delete key. And what it did, because there's an alpha channel, what it did is it essentially made a hole in this top layer so that when I make the bottom layer visible, it's visible through that hole. Right? The bottom layer is now visible through that hole. But what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to select a color, and I like red, so this is a pretty good color for me. And I'm going to use this bucket tool, and I'm going to fill this space with complete red. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the selection tool, and I'm going to do the same thing on this other table. And I'm going to try and eyeball it and get pretty close. And I'm going to, again, Control, mouse wheel up. And I was pretty far off here, but I'm going to get it to that. Now I've got the edge of the table there, and Control, mouse wheel down to zoom out. And then I'm going to come up here and Control, mouse wheel up. And I'm going to get to there. Now I've got that table selected, and I am going to, again, cut a hole in the picture, and I'm going to fill it with red. Now, what I need to do is get rid of everything that I don't want. And so I'm going to select, I'm going to just grab this, and I got to measure to make sure that I didn't get quite to the bottom. Oops. Let's try that again. That's not even close. And there it's close. Now, I want to get rid of everything below here. So I don't care about these borders. I just want to get rid of that. Now I also want to get rid of this stuff in here. So that's right. That goes all the way to there. We're going to zoom out and drag. Whoop, 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 whoop. Got to zoom in again to make sure I've got it right. Okay, and then I'm going to, oops, zoom out and drag down. Okay, so now I know I've got everything selected, and I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to go do the same thing over on this side. Oops. God darn it. Make it bigger so I can get started there. Let's get that all the way up there. And then we'll come down here and drag all the way down, and we're just going to delete it because we know we don't need it. And lastly, the last place is over here, this tiny little one. So we're going to get this. Where did I select? Okay, there we go. There's the corner. And in this case, it doesn't really matter on, all that matters really is that I get to the edge of the table. Now this little extra red there, that's not the edge of the table. This is the red. So I'm going to delete that. And so now what I've got is the outlines of my tables. So if I pull the background in, what'll happen is that those tables will then be essentially those red squares. Now, what I really also want to do is get the middle out of this. So if I did this, you could see I'd make a really thick line. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to make it 1 pixel. I'm going to make the line 1. Yeah, that's 1 pixel. That's 1 pixel. Okay, that's good. So I'll go back to over here. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There we are. I'm going to drag this guy up 1 pixel, 1 pixel, and then we're going to delete it. Then we're going to do the same thing on this other square over here. 1, 1. Got to make you bigger. We got to zoom out a little bit and try and get it to roughly the place it needs to be over here. And zoom in. 1, 1, and we'll delete that. Now, what I've got, when I zoom back out, it's hard to see them, but I've got these thin red lines. And when I make the background visible, now it's really easy to see these thin red lines. And now I just say File, Export As, and we're going to call it, I'm going to put it on my desktop, and we'll call it background marked. And we export it. And now I've got this picture that I can use as a background for my tables. And the way that that works is you go into right-click, Personalize, Browse, and you find that file. I put it on desktop and background mark. Now I'm not going to do this because I've already got one, and but that is essentially how I made it. Now this is going to become important when we go into looking at OBS and how to do certain things with OBS to make this work, right? Like finding these particular pieces of location, right? So here is, I've got this one table on the left, and if I slide it over, it ends up being in the right location. So this is going to be important in future streams. Having the ability to put your tables in the same place every time really matters. So anyway, thanks. I hope this was a helpful video. There are more videos to come on how to produce a Twitch overlay. In particular, I'm going to be going through what I did to produce this Twitch overlay. It was done using a lot of resources from a website called Nerd or Die. So shout out to them for how to do this. But I don't think that the Nerd or Die folks have a lot of experience playing poker, and some of the needs that a poker player needs for Twitch and making overlays. So I have voluntarily decided to fill in the gap. And anyway, let me know what you think of the video. Let me know if this was helpful, and with comments below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Give me a follow on Twitch. You've obviously found my YouTube channel. My Twitch channel is One Dull Geek. Dullgeek. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. You can actually, my Twitch channel is right up there. My Twitter is also up there. You can see it. So thanks for hanging out, and I will see you in a little bit. Bye.